A new U.S. tariff on a key solar material raises costs for clean energy supply chains that serve millions of households and businesses. This is Omni View, episode 138. The United States has placed a 15% tariff on imports of polysilicon, a material used in solar panels and semiconductors. Officials describe the duty as a direct response to Chinese production levels and pricing practices. The policy draws on existing trade authorities and applies specifically to shipments entering the United States. Nikkei Asia presents the tariff as one element in broader efforts to curb Chinese dominance in critical materials. Chinese exporters and some global solar developers see the added cost as likely to slow project timelines and push up prices for renewable installations. U.S. industry groups focused on domestic manufacturing maintain that the measure will support local jobs and reduce dependence on foreign supply. Downstream solar firms counter that higher input costs could hinder wider adoption of clean energy. Both sides accept the tariff rate and its target material as fixed facts. The disagreement centers on whether the step ultimately strengthens or disrupts the clean energy transition. The first effects are expected once new contracts reflect the updated prices, with some long-term agreements potentially shielding immediate projects. Shifting now to diplomatic efforts in Asia. Japan is exploring fresh approaches to place its nationals in senior positions at international organizations, after a stretch of limited success in winning top posts. Nikkei Asia frames the initiative as a diplomatic priority for Tokyo. Some observers inside Japan view stronger representation as a route to greater influence over rules on trade and technology. Other governments and analysts note that competition for these posts stays intense and that real sway requires coalition building rather than unilateral action. Tokyo has singled out vacancies at bodies handling economic policy and technical standards as immediate targets. Results will depend on how effectively new methods translate into actual appointments over the coming months. Next, economic data from Southeast Asia. The Philippines recorded 2.3% GDP growth for the April to June period. Official figures show the reading fell below the first quarter pace and below the government's full-year target range. Nikkei Asia connects the slowdown to rising prices that have reduced consumer spending. Government economists point to external demand and investment as factors that remain positive. Private sector analysts caution that sustained inflation could limit further acceleration unless offset by policy support. The growth number itself stands as the clearest data point. How long inflation continues to constrain the pace will shape the outlook for the rest of the year. Turning to developments in the Middle East, Israel has issued a tender for 627 housing units in the occupied West Bank. The units are planned for areas east of the 1967 lines. Al Jazeera reports the tender as part of ongoing settlement activity. Israeli authorities describe the units as meeting housing needs within existing communities. Palestinian representatives and some international observers argue the construction reduces prospects for contiguous Palestinian territory. The tender number and location are documented facts. Interpretations differ on how the step affects future negotiations. Now, some progress worth knowing about. Kansai Electric and Kawasaki Heavy Industries are seeking approval for the initial transport of captured carbon dioxide away from the capture site. Nikkei Asia reports the companies are working through regulatory and technical requirements under newly drafted safety guidelines. Supporters of carbon capture view the transport plan as necessary proof that captured emissions can be moved and stored at scale. Environmental groups stress that such projects must still demonstrate net reductions and long-term safety. The application for the first off-site shipment marks an early operational step in carbon storage infrastructure. The captured gas would move by specialized tanker once approvals are secured. Here is the thing that changes how you see tariff announcements. Most coverage treats a new duty as a simple tax on one country's goods. In practice, a duty on a material such as polysilicon first raises the cost for every manufacturer that buys it, whether the final product is made in the United States, Europe, or Southeast Asia. Those higher input prices then move downstream into solar panel assembly, installation bids, and utility contracts, often within a single budget cycle. Historical examples, including earlier duties on steel and aluminum, show that downstream industries frequently absorb part of the increase or shift sourcing to higher cost suppliers, rather than immediately reshoring production. Supply chain modeling by industry associations indicates that a 15% increase at the raw material stage can translate into a 4 to 7% rise in finished panel costs after 6 months. The same models show that long-term contracts signed before the tariff often shield immediate projects while new bids reflect the updated price. Tracking contract announcements from major solar developers therefore offers a clearer signal than the tariff headline alone. When the next tariff is reported, check which specific downstream industries are named in the coverage and whether they have already adjusted contract prices. If you want to go deeper on the tariff, compare how Nikkei Asia and Al Jazeera frame trade and territorial policy actions. This week, reports across several episodes tracked recurring shifts in global trade patterns and efforts by governments to secure greater influence in international organizations. Economic indicators from multiple Asian economies continued to show growth alongside inflation pressures that affect household spending. Coverage of infrastructure projects and settlement activity drew consistent attention from different regional outlets. Tomorrow, watch for updates on whether the Japanese firms receive approval for the first off-site carbon dioxide shipment. Before we go, that is the picture for today. That's Omni View. The news can feel heavy, but understanding what's actually happening and what's being done about it beats doom scrolling every time. Stay curious, pick one story from today and read it from a second outlet you don't usually open. If balanced perspectives are valuable to you, share this with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nera Network. Links in the show notes. Quick tip from the network, try Planetarian Daily next. Daily breakthroughs in science, health, and longevity. Every Nera Network show is free at neranetwork.com. And on the website, every episode's visuals live in our free image gallery at neranetwork.com/gallery. Royalty free under Creative Commons. Download with attribution. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.